What's happening? What's happening? What's happening, blues people? Those of you who've been rocking for me for the many years I've been doing some sort of media podcast should be familiar with that. I think that might have been my first or second open. I've been using the last couple of years because I've been nostalgic, and I hate that word when it comes to the blues. Miss Julie says hello all. Matter of fact, let's throw Miss Julie up here. How you doing? So first and foremost, before I tell y'all what this is or what we're doing, you can go to the Jack Dappa Blues Radio Facebook page. That's where one place you can find it. Jack Dappa Blues Radio and TV YouTube channel. Another place where we're live and you can find it. The African American Folklorist YouTube channel. Another place where we're live and you can find it. And you can go to Lamont Jack Pearley Facebook digital creator page where it's live and you can find it. And if we are friends on LinkedIn, you will definitely see it. If I need to send links, reach out to one of the six of us and I shall put it somewhere or tell you where to find it yet again, which is okay because we want people actively participating. You know, if you can sit and hang out with us and engage with us, that will be wonderful. So now, to jump on and jump in. Okay, I'm sorry, I was hearing some feedback. When it comes to so I don't need to tell you who Jack Dappa Blues is and his platform because y'all know, but what we're going to talk about and what I will say is what we're discussing today is one thing I always love doing after an event, a program, a workshop, a performance, whatever it may be, is, you know, to have a reflexive and a reflective moment, right? Meaning to sit back and look at part of the larger picture. What was done well? What could have been done better? What points, what agendas, what moments were hit? What did we miss? What did we see that we never saw before? And how can we maybe tighten it, be more inclusive, or even remove some things because it's not even specific to the voice or voices we are representing. And that's what we're working on today in this live stream. And I'm working on this with the great folks that I collaborated with a couple of weeks ago in Southern Ohio. We have the great and masterful with a camera, Edwin Martell. We have who I'm just meeting, Chelsea Watkins. We have my guy that I met at my workshop and / performance. I kind of got eyeballed into a performance before I was ready, but that's just how these things work. Eli Vestich, did I say it right? Vestich?
Vestich, that's right.
All right. We got the lovely Doris Fields, a.k.a. Lady D, the Empress. And we got my great pal, Cassie Patterson of the Southern Ohio Folklife. What's going on, great folk?
Hey, Lamont.
I'm good.
Okay, I have to say this. This project is made possible by Mid-Atlantic Arts Central Appalachia Living Traditions Program. Project collaborators include the 14th Street Community Center. What's up, D? Time Out for Me, Inc., Portsmouth Unity, Portsmouth. How do you say Portsmouth? Portsmouth Unity Project, Southern Ohio Museum and Cultural Center, the African American Folklorist, and the Jack Dappa Blues Heritage Preservation Foundation. We always have to pay the bills, right? Okay, good folks. What's happening? What's happening? How y'all doing on this beautiful Saturday?
Good.
Beautiful indeed. Good to be with you, Lamont.
Yes.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Again, to those watching, don't be shy to chime in, ask questions, drop a line, and what have you. I know, I guess for me, And I actually did that both nights and evenings after our events and our wonderful dinners. Was I just went back to my hotel room, took out my Dancing in the Moonlight moon book, and I just wrote out everything that happened, where it comes from, how it happened, and if I would change. How did you all feel after? We could start here. How did you all feel after the events?
I thought it was a good time.
Now, Eli, because I did jump the gun, tell us your background and what organization you're with.
Well, I'm representing Portsmouth, Ohio Blues Society with Chelsea here. I'm a professor at Shawnee State University, but in engineering, nothing to do with music. It's just my background. I came from a musical family, and grew up through the 70s and 80s playing classic rock, and then I fell into the blues and fell in love with the blues, and been playing in blues bands for many years since. Mikey Mike and the Big Unit is our current incarnation. That came through because bass player Jacob Ankrum and I were coming out of another band, which actually still exists, a jam band. And we wanted to put together a little trio just to play some blues just around locally. And we hooked up with our drummer, Nick Nichols. We found out we didn't want to sing. And we worked with Chelsea before. She has a wonderful voice. And she agreed to sign up. And we've been doing that since 2016. Around 2018, we decided to give having a blues society a go. So we're kind of co-founding members in all this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to take credit for anything that we've done or any mistakes we made. So yeah, and that's basically where we're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea, do you want to add a little bit more?
Yes, I'll talk a little bit about my my background. I actually grew up in Southern California, on and off, through each parent, and so I've always I've always been in the church. I've always been in music. I have a musical family on both sides. I wear a lot of hats in the community. I'm a business owner. I'm a filmmaker. I am a indie film actress, a model, a mother, and a musician. And I, as well as serving on committees in the city, and I work at the Curriculum Innovation Hub as a program coordinator, helping to bridge the gap between campus and community, and to bring more diverse and equitable and inclusive programs to our community as well. So I wear a lot of hats, but I love this town. I love this city, and I love the creativeness that flows out of the city.
I dig it. And it was a beautiful city. It reminded me of Clarksdale in the sense that there's so much there and so much untapped. There's a group of people there, which are you all, really standing up and making things happen for the people and the multiple folk groups and expressions that are happening. So I guess that it would make sense for us to kind of recap into how we even got to this point, right? Now, I know for me, it was through my great pal Cassie, but it sounds like Edwin spearheaded this kind of coming together. Could we get some of the story?
Sure. Cassie, help me out if I get some of this wrong, okay? So Cassie and I, we were at a retreat, an artist retreat with the Waymakers Collective. And that's where Cassie, I had already known Lady D from previous interactions. And she introduced me to Lady D, and Lady D kind of told me a bit about what she does, and I was just like, okay, that sounds fantastic. When are you coming to Portsmouth? That was it. That was my second thing to ask her was, oh, that's all great. You do that sounds fantastic. I want to see it live, but I also want, the city of Portsmouth to be able to see that live as well. And so I extended the invitation, and Cassie was like, okay, I guess we're gonna figure out how to bring Lady D to Portsmouth somehow. And so, Cassie did her thing and was able to write a grant. And thank you to Mid-Atlantic Arts for, approving that grant and getting us the money to be able to bring Lady D and the Empress to Portsmouth.
Cassie, you want to take it from there?
Yes. Well, it's just an honor to be able to have Lady D in our community and to be able to see and share with other people, the incredible work that she's done on The Lady and the Empress, and also with Bessie's Blues, which I know we're going to get into a little bit later. But as soon as I knew that Lady D was coming, I thought, well, we need to have Lamont there then too. We need to have, experts in the room who can speak about the blues, right? It's not my area of specialization. And whenever we do programs, we really want to make sure that specialists are contextualizing this work, making sure it's situated in a larger tradition. And that's why I was really excited about the conversation that Lamont and Lady D would be having for the live stream that we had a couple weeks ago, but then also as a dialogue that would continue throughout the time that you guys are with us. And it was really exciting then to see Eli at your workshop, Lamont, and for Eli to say, hey, we've got a blues society here, which I didn't know about. I've seen you guys perform as Mikey Mike and the Big Unit, but I wasn't aware of the society. And so I'm just really excited that, Lady D and Lamont, your presence really created the opportunity for a new connection to form in a different way that we can then continue, to learn from each other. And now we can do collaborative work that includes the Blues Society, or the Blues Society can include us in the work that you guys are doing. We have this opportunity to really build out from this experience.
So let me just ask a quick question based on what both you and Edwin said. How significant is it? And you've touched on it, but I kind of want you all to kind of elaborate a little bit, to have folk members, not just specialists or experts, but group members be a part of these programmings that you're having. So someone of the voice.
Yeah, that's really central to the work that we're doing. And it's really important that we have folks from the communities that we're working with and that the programming is really aimed to engage, to have them be a part of the input of the work that we're doing. That's part of the reason why we wanted to have the event at the 14th Street Community Center. I know that folks there have been doing great work for a long time, and we wanted to make sure that any workshop that was going to be happening involved input from the 14th Street Center. We have Julie on there who helped to coordinate the event, made sure that we had the space that we need, and the same thing at the Southern Ohio Museum. And we have other programs that we've worked on that's really focused on the Latina community here. And we've really, folks that are on our steering committee for those projects, those have been kind of longer projects that have different outputs beyond, that are different from performance, which we had for this one. Some of them have been performances, but others have been oral history projects or have been a podcast. For those that involve a different kind of development of an end product, we especially make sure that we have a lot of input from community members.
I dig it. And that takes collaboration all across the board, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of like the current way of folkloring, if you will.
And I think, something that's important is that there can be a lot of starting points for that. and it can grow in a lot of different ways. I think that the initial excitement about bringing Lady D here and being able to see the Lady and the Empress, to experience it, was actually just the beginning of this collaboration. So it's a wayfinding, and it's a beginning of a network that we can continue to build. And I think that the more that you build the projects out together and with input from each other going forward, the more that we can grow programs that are even more responsive to community needs.
That's why I'm excited about this, because when I originally came up with the idea to have a blues society, and we talked about this, it was to have an academic element to it, to create a library of music, maybe have something with the museum, to get road trips to Memphis or Clarksdale or Chicago, along with, bringing in artists like Lady D. And we had a couple meetings early on, and at first it seemed like there was excitement, and then there was less and less, and no one with any money. And so we were down to, okay, what can we do? We can perform. So we have our open mics once every first Friday every month. It's an open blues jam, and people are more than happy to come out and have drinks and listen to us play for free. But getting interest into getting some, like when I was messaged by Sarah Rudity that, Lamont, you were going to be there and what was going on, and I had heard nothing about it, and it was that day, and I thought, wow, blues, rap, a workshop. That's what I'm looking for. That's the kind of thing that I wanted to do with this, or just an element of it. And and that's how I popped into the scene when I popped in down there. And the fact that it was at 14th Street Community Center, we love playing down there. We played down there a lot for their Soul Food Festival and everything.
I grew up when I was little. I grew up on 14th Street. I grew up in those apartments and stuff there, and I went to Mount Zion just down the road. So it's nice to see the community thriving even more so now, and just all the things that we have, for the youth as well. It's so nice.
Yes, right. Because if nothing else, well, I do remember meeting Eli, and I was happy that you were there. And now what you just explained gives me context on your initial facial expression. It's all clear now.
Exactly. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
but no. I personally appreciated being able to do that part of the program, the blues narrative, at 14th Street Center with the exuberant young folk, their eyes, their attention, their questions, and coming from a community similar to what I come from. And there's another part of that program, and this goes back to us having a reflective moment, right? Because there's another part of that program that I didn't even mention during that workshop, which we could talk about even off the air, because I'm making it so that organizations like yourself can utilize it, and I can come down and give you the tools along with Cassie and Edwin and Lady D. Now, but before we get any further into that, we got performing and tracing the blues, right? Lady D's performance is not just entertainment, but it's not just a performance, but it's extremely educational, right? Because it gives you, it's like a personal narrative of Bessie Smith being vesseled through Lady D. So what I would like to do, another recap for those watching who didn't have an opportunity to witness what we witnessed, right? And there's two versions of this performance. Lady D, please give us a synopsis of this blues performance.
Well, first of all, thanking Edwin again for initiating this. Sometimes all a great idea takes is somebody to ask a simple question. So that's where it started. And so I really appreciate him doing that, and Cassie following through on the idea. And I also want to give a shout out to my friend Dave Clater. I see he logged on, and he's one of the greatest um, supporters and preservers of blues that I know in Chester, South Carolina. So, hey, Dave. But being there in Portsmouth was so special, and I had such a great time. And this is actually the 20th anniversary of me performing The Lady and the Empress. I wrote the show near the end of 2003. Well, I wrote it near the end of 2002. And it was something I felt like I had to do. I felt like Bessie did want to channel herself through me. So I went with it. She told me what to write, what songs to use. And so we've been together for a little over 20 years now. And so I was just really happy and excited. And it was such a great time to do the show there in Portsmouth, and it was so well received. I was happy about that. But the show, The Lady and the Empress, which is the full show with the 4-piece band, my band Mission, and then Bessie's Blues is the shorter version with just myself and normally one musician. But when I did Bessie's Blues there, the band had already left, so I used tracks for that, which I do sometimes. And it's basically Bessie telling about her life from when she's growing up in Chattanooga and her start singing and dancing on street corners with her brother Andrew. She's in her boudoir, so to speak, and she's having a little nip from time to time, and she's telling her story and sort of the highlights and lowlights of her life. I didn't get into a lot of things that people may know her for, but this is what she told me she wants people to know, and so that's what I wrote. And so it has evolved over the years, and it evolves with every audience because I take into consideration what the setup is. I've wanted this to be a show that was easy to set up in any venue that I was invited to. Not a lot of props or things like that, so that's not needed. Just basically Bessie telling her story and singing her songs that she loved. And so I'm just happy that people have been really taken with the show for 20 years. I mean, this is something that's been a part of me for this long, and Bessie is like she's always on my shoulder ready to do this show, and so I have to call on her anytime I go on stage to do it. And so it's been kind of a magical journey with her.
So now, what is for you, Lady D, after both performances? You can even break it down to each one, and then we're going to go back around and ask everyone different questions. But how are you feeling after the Lady and the Empress, and then how are you feeling after the I guess children family friendly one? What were you thinking about after engaging the Portsmouth community?
Well, it's the fun thing about The Lady and the Empress and even Bessie's Blues. I love it when the audience talks back to me because Bessie likes to interact with the audience in that way. And a lot of times people will say something that might seem off color to a lot of people, but I love that because, and it's Bessie, she has that kind of comeback, because I wouldn't think of these things normally if it was just me, but I love it when the audience chimes in and says things, and it's, you feed off of the audience, and it's a give and take kind of thing. And so that Lady and the Empress performance was a lot of fun because the audience was giving me that vibe. And that was, that's what any artist that gets up on stage for anything, that's what you want. You want the audience to feel something and then give that back to you. So that was really great. And then the, I guess you call it the family friendly one. But it's not much different from the full show. Bessie's blues performance, that was a great crowd too, and a lot of questions asked during the Q&A. So I like that too. So it's I always feel good doing the show everywhere I go. Like I said, you get different responses, and people react differently to different things said in the monologues, but it's been a great journey with Bessie.
So I would like to go around and ask everyone that same question, starting with Cassie. After it was all said and done, what was your thoughts about the eventful weekend?
I had a great time. I mean, I loved seeing The Lady and the Empress. You can tell that Lady D has worked on this, but also has been inspired to present this material. And I thought, what you said earlier about, this is educational, it's a performance. I think it's a perfect match of content, and the music is beautiful. Hearing the band behind you, or behind her, and then Lady D's voice is just incredible. So I think the performances are wonderful. And, as I was sitting there, especially for the Bessie's Blues piece, I was thinking, this I would love to see in our schools. And we talked a little bit afterward about how we might be able to make that happen. I love it as a piece to bring the kids into the work. And anybody that I talked to about Lady D's work said, oh, they get to talk to her afterward as Lady D. That was really exciting for folks. So I think that, as we kind of think ahead to future work, thinking about involving the schools more directly, definitely tying in with the Portsmouth Blues Society, doing more work with the 14th Street Community Center. I think there's just so much there that we can do. I think, as I was saying earlier, this was kind of, to me, the beginning, the spark for future collaboration. And I think that we got to see what is possible and what kind of talent we have in the room, and how we can bring that together in the future. So I was happy, and I was especially happy because it felt like this was the beginning. Not that we had kind of finished something, but that we were beginning something and getting inspired by each other.
Edwin?
Yeah. So first off, the performance was, it was amazing. Lady D, you embody Bessie. It was amazing to watch someone be able to transform like that. And the performance itself was just amazing. And the response from the community, from the folks that were there, the response from your workshop, and so all of the responses were just, full of praise and very, very grateful. Everyone was very grateful to be able to experience that. And so we talk about what could we do better. I think that, in some areas, like advertising a little bit better. We didn't have much time to really put it together. Once Cassie knew that we were getting the funds for it, but the performance itself, that's a little off track. But the performance itself was it was something that everyone should be able to watch. And so, my next question to Lady D is, when you're moving to Portsmouth.
That's a fair question.
I've been thinking about it.
We look. I've been a part of the community, and I've been a part of organizations galore here in Portsmouth, and this is a piece of our community that is somewhat lacking. I'm not saying anything like about Eli and Chelsea and the Blues Society, but they need help. You know what I mean? And jazz, blues music here is the history here is, I mean, it's phenomenal. And we live in an area and that, it's predominant. Blues history here is really very, to me, it's very important too, because, watching your workshop, Lamont, you hit on a lot of things where blues music kind of paved the way for a lot of the artists that we see today. And so, it was just, I don't know, we need it. Like, we needed this as a stepping stone. We're going to continue to build on that. And hopefully we can collaborate and help the Blues Society here continue that great work and grow it, just like any other organization that we want to help. Something else that I want to say about the performance, Lady D, there's something that really stuck with me during that performance, and it was the part where Bessie was talking about how she wasn't afraid of hell and the devil. Tell the devil to come, that whole skit that you did there. And then at the end, where she was afraid of the devil and hell. And it just that really, I don't know why that really stuck with me. But it did. And it was a fantastic performance.
Thank you, Edwin. Thank you.
It was. I just have to, for the sake of context, jazz comes from the blues, so it's okay, but it's not the blues. And I'm not getting on you. I'm just telling you for audience members, some people do use it interchangeably, because when you think of the olden days, the classic blues, where women like Bessie were singing in front of big bands, or guys like Bolden down in Storyville, that's the beginning of jazz, but that's actually blues. Now, with that being said, I want to bring, and again, not for our audience members, particularly if I didn't say that, somebody will be in my DM, hey, why didn't you say this? So I just want to get that out there real quick. I want to bring Eli and Chelsea into the conversation, because Eli made mention about wanting to do not just performative, but more educational and interactive engagement of the blues and of the blues culture, right? With your society. So I'm just wondering, what kind of programming were you all thinking about?
Anything really. When we first started doing our performances, our open mics, I used to, before each song, give a little explanation on the history of this song. This was written in 1952, or you may have heard Eric Clapton perform this song, but did you know that it was originally recorded by and we wanted to get the idea of like I said, road trips, bringing people in, workshops. It's frustrating because there doesn't seem to be you need community to do these things.
Yeah.
And we just don't seem to get the interest in it. Like when we did the Blues, Brews, and Barbecue and the festival, it started out with great intentions. We got through the first year, and I think they made the mistake of doing it. I was on the committee as to find talent, to find musicians to play, along with another individual who kind of ran, he had a lot more pull than I did. I was just the guitar player that they brought along to validate his opinion.
Oh, no.
That's kind of how it went down. And then by the time we tried to do it second year, well, COVID hit, so that got canned. And we tried to do it after COVID, and there was backlash from other members on the committee that they wanted to bring in country acts, which is a huge, huge genre in this area. Okay, and we were like, well, it's called blues, brews, and barbecue blues, right? And we'll get more people that way, because that seemed to be the bottom line, is drawing more people. So that's frustrating. But to get back to the original point, just try to get something more academic out of it, than just go. And I love performing. That's a huge part of it,
But there's more, right?
It shouldn't be just a venue for us,
Let me ask you all a question. Have you connected with the International Blues Challenge and the Blues Foundation out in Memphis?
I tried to get us set up a chapter with them, and I don't think they're doing chapters anymore, because their website, I can't find anything. Maybe I'm not looking in the right place, and if someone knows, send me the link.
Yeah.
We've been invited to challenges in Huntington. It's just something that by nature we're not real competitive, and it'd be great to go and go down and win and play in Memphis, but it's just like battle of the bands and things like that. I've never been a huge competitive person like that. I think that's probably felt by most of the band. And we all wear different hats. Like Tony, our saxophone player, he's the band director at the high school. Okay, Chelsea's an actress. She's a business owner. She's an entrepreneur. Okay, she's got all kinds of things going on. Our bass player is a painter. So it's when I first started this, I was kept saying to myself, I got to find somebody who has the time and the effort to really take charge of this, so I can ride along and have a good time, play guitar. And he never showed. He never appeared out of the sky.
But you gained people to help you, though.
Yeah.
We all kind of take lead on a lot of those things.
Oh, yeah.
So you gained a family.
Well, I just want to say, Eli, I did mention to you before, but I was serious. If you need help on anything like that, I would be glad to do that. I organized a Jazz and Blues Festival for 6 years. It's not easy at all. No money is ever made, but you do it because you love to do it. I know lots of artists who do blues in the schools, especially. And so if you would like artists to come into the schools and do, I do blues in the schools too. That's something that you would probably enjoy having there in Portsmouth as well. Edwin was talking about getting into the school systems. That's great. I used to go into the schools a lot with Vestich Blues, but after the whole, there were so many school shootings and everything, at least here in West Virginia, they really cut down on having people come from outside to do things in the schools. So I don't know how it is now. I don't even try anymore for that. But if that's an option there in your area, I would love to be involved with that as well. But believe me, you've made a connection here with me, and I know a lot of people, a lot of artists. So if you need help on that end, just let me know.
Yes.
Well, we made a connection talking about Chaka Khan.
Chaka Khan,
that's my girl.
That's why I ended up going to your performance, because I didn't even know what was going on. I showed up at Lamont's workshop, and we started chatting, and you mentioned Chaka Khan. I was like, well, I got to go see this woman tonight. I got to
Absolutely.
go. And it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Something just popped in my mind that both of you could help. I'm on a distinguished lecture series committee at the university, and we always have trouble getting people in here to do lectures. This wouldn't be K-12; it would be for the college. But you'd get a little out of it. We have a stipend, so it wouldn't be a freebie.
Well, that always helps, but I love doing this. I will tell you. So what is the truth? But with the blues narrative, which is a bigger project, there's something very specific and unique that can help what you guys are doing, and as also in collaboration with Southern Ohio Folklife as pertaining to that region. So what we do is it's a curriculum I created for a workshop. It could be done in 4 weeks, 8 weeks, or more, and we kind of go through the not just the history of the blues, but the culture of the blues. Then we teach how to sing a basic song, kind of what you guys saw in the workshop. But then we get to a point where we ask, and we also teach ethnographic methodology, how to interview and things like this. So then we ask the students who participate, whether adults or children, which one would you like to do? Because I found, as you all know, who was in the workshop, everyone does not like to sing live. Everyone is not like Cassie. Everyone is not like Julie that will make a great song on the spot, right? Some people, they may just want to interview either the performers or older people who are part of this program. So we teach the basic 145 and how to do what you saw, and we teach how to interview and document. And then we send them out to do this, work on a song, work on ethnographic interviewing based on this program, and then we all come back together, reconvene, and work on creating a segment of a festival that could be implemented at any festival where their works, whether it's the ethnographic work or their songs, can be performed at said festival. So if you want that curriculum, that's a Jack Dappa Blues original, I can come partner with Cassie and Edwin again and Lady D, and we can come down there and rock and roll.
Let's do it.
Fantastic. Let's go.
I love that idea. Yes.
And Cassie and I also have connections to the schools around here. And so, like, we can definitely network and pull out our contacts and see, what we can do with what we got.
Now, who has, Cassie, who has the new podcasting studio? Because we never really got into that while we was out there.
Yeah. So first of all, Julie put in the chat that the Portsmouth Little Theater may be a great spot to perform in the future. So I love that idea. They put on really great programming.
I'm a member.
Oh, great. Well, maybe you could say something about it then.
Chelsea?
The Portsmouth Little Theater is, I think it was founded in 1803. And we do all kinds of shows from all different genres. It's a community theater. And so we have, I think, 6-7 shows a season. And it's a really, in workshops as well. So it's a really good way for the community to come out and have a good time. We, like I said, we do all, I think we're doing Shawshank Redemption is the one that's coming up next. And that will be in June. But yeah, it's we have a Julia Marlowe picture up because she's a historical figure of Portsmouth who also was a Shakespearean actress. So we have her there too. Represent. It's a beautiful place, though. It's a very old theater, but we've done renovations, and it is beautiful and gorgeous. And there's tons of people now. We have a big amount of people now. I remember when I, gosh, it was 10 years ago when I was first there. Yeah, all volunteer run. When I was first there, we didn't have very many people like volunteering. Now, half the town. So it's a really great cultural hotspot there.
Yeah, I just auditioned for my very first time auditioning. I just auditioned for Shawshank, and I got the role of Tommy, but unfortunately, I can't do it because just time. I got so many irons in the fire right now that finding the time and dedication to such a craft like theater is difficult. But I'm not saying no in the future, but maybe sometime.
Well, I just have to go on record, and I believe I can speak for Lady D on this one too. My family and I are packing up our vehicle, and we're driving just to come to your restaurant. I don't know if we're spending the night, but I know we're driving just to come back to that restaurant. Okay.
It's so good.
Oh man, thank you guys. I appreciate that.
I would love to see the Shawshank Redemption.
That too, yes. I'm sorry, definitely.
I would love to see Shawshank Redemption and go to Oddfellows. That'd be a good weekend.
There it is. I just want to make sure that it's not my restaurant. I do work there, and it is family owned, and it's family that I'm a family of. But it's a wonderful place, and the food is just, you guys know. So yeah, you're more than welcome to come on down anytime you want. If you want to hit me up, let me know you're coming, and I'll roll out the red carpet for you guys. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, thank you very much. Now, with that being said, I have to ask you all this, because this is very important, because we would love to collaborate on a lot of these artistic projects and things like this. But just for those watching that are either one interested, one looking to do it, one learning from our conversation, or one maybe philanthropists who can actually help us, what are some of the things that we need to think about when preparing? What are some of the steps? What are some of the things that need paying for?
So I guess Cassie could really put a lot of this into context for you guys, but I'll throw in a couple of 2 cents in there. Of course, funding for the artist, first and foremost, you know what I mean? Making sure that you guys are paid for your craft. I think that's very important. Venues. If there is a venue that you're looking for that requires payment, I think that's. But in this here in Portsmouth, we have resources available to us that maybe some other towns and cities don't have, and so like Portsmouth Little Theater and the museum, both great places that offer offer the venue for artists to be able to perform. Making the invitation, right, Cassie? I'll let Cassie kind of take over on that, because she's the guru when it comes to the grant stuff and knowing all of that.
She's being quite humble, because I happen to know some of us wear many hats, but Cassie wears, I don't know if there's a number of value to the amount of hats she wears successfully, but go ahead.
Thank you, Lamont. You can hang out with me anytime. You just come right around me, and whenever I'm introducing myself, I'll just hand it to you. I like it. I'll be just humble in the corner, and you can just shout my accomplishments. I love it. But I mean, and also I just want to like remember that we get back to the podcasting booth, because I skipped that on that one, but I do want to talk about that. But I think one of the things that I would add to what Edwin's talked about in terms of the cost for these like incredible experiences, as Julie says in the comments, lodging. We wanted to make sure folks feel comfortable and safe in our community. Next time, I'd love to have you guys stay out at the lodge. It's really beautiful, and maybe we can have like a little campfire out there or something afterward, a little jam. But we also paid for Irais Garcia. She is a local content designer and marketing strategist, and she just moved back to town from Mexico. And Irais did all of the marketing for our work. She did all the graphics, making sure it looked consistent, looked good. So just a shout out to Irais for her good work. And she's looking to grow her business as well as a newcomer to the community after having graduated from Shawnee State. But she's back in town now, so we're really excited about that. I think that's, the travel, lodging, graphic design, artist fees. And I also paid for some assistance with advertising, because I knew that we had a really tight turnaround from when we knew about the grant funding until when we were going to have the performance. And I didn't want that to hinder us having a good crowd. And so I know somebody else who does some marketing work, my friend Amanda Page, who also has a nonprofit in the area called Cyto Literary. Thank you, Amanda. She's a local from New Boston, so I know that she knows everybody and where to send stuff. So when you need to get the word out, Amanda is really great for that. So I think just those strategic partnerships and thinking about who can do what. Same thing with Miss Marsha Harris. She is the executive director of Time Out for Me. Yep. And she has been for over 20 years as well, been working with youth in the area to really think about holistic well-being, self-esteem, and mindfulness, just teaching young folks the skills of life, taking them out to get experiences. She brings them out and does a collaborative project out here at the park with Jenny Richards every year, having the kids from the 14th Street Community Center get out on kayaks and canoes and get to experience the park and know that that's a resource in their community that's available to everybody. So I think that, having the relationships that can help to bring something to fruition is really important, and to help to get the word out to relevant folks. Eli, I can't remember if it was Drew Carter that sent you the link.
What's happening, Drew?
Yeah.
It was Sarah.
Oh, Sarah Rudity. That's
Sarah,
right.
but I ran into Drew.
We love Drew.
We go way back with Drew.
We do.
Yeah, I think that one of the great things about living here is that you can do something that is special. A lot of us can do something that's special because not only is there space to do it, there's space for ideas, but there's also just an incredible amount of support. If you're interested in doing something, a lot of times you can get a lot of folks who are behind you saying, yes, please do that. We want that in our community. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm glad that we're connected now, better with Eli and Chelsea to say, okay, you guys have been doing this work in this community, and how can the work that we're interested in doing support each other? Finding each other is really beautiful.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have to kind of go to the left for 1 second, and then we're going to come back around, because I didn't forget, we're going to talk about the booth and collaboration. But Chelsea, I believe, mentioned, and Eli, that there's a lot of, I think all of you mentioned, there's a lot of blues history in this area, Portsmouth, right? Could you share some of the blues history for my blues people that are listening? Because we are, performing and tracing the blues. So this is a place that's along the Mississippi, along Ohio River. So I would imagine there's a lot of music, Southern Black traditional music that's coming through there. Could you give us a snippet of this blues music history there? Anyone, please.
Honestly, I'm not terribly aware of a whole lot of older history. There's a trumpet player. I forget his name off the top of my head, who helped invent the wah-wah pedal.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about this area, what I would consider blues music history, is just like civil rights issues in this area are huge, and it's Southern Ohio, right?
We have a
And
really big Underground Railroad history.
it's a huge Underground Railroad area,
Which is part of the blues, right?
Absolutely.
Right. And and there's it's unfortunately an area where you're going to run into more than a few Confederate flags hanging on trailers and flying from pickup trucks and things like that, which frustrates me because it's just like, okay, I go down the river to the Ripley House or the John Parker House, and just the richness of the tradition of what happened there.
What happened there? We don't know. What
house,
house is this? Who is this person you're talking about?
Uh,
You're talking to a folklorist, so I have to put everything in context.
The Ripley House is where it was the Uncle Tom's Cabin was the inspiration. That was the inspiration for the book Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Okay.
Okay. God, someone help me out here. What's the name of the reverend that ran the Ripley House? Anyway, he had a Protestant abolitionist, and he would go and help slaves cross the Ohio River and get them north through different safe houses and contact points, and to get hopefully into Canada, which was like the end goal at the time. And he had, if you think about what they went through, it was really tough because it was also a lot of people that were trying to stop him, and there was a price on his head. Likewise, just down the street from him was John Parker. John Parker was a man who was born into slavery. He bought his way out of slavery, came and settled in Ripley, Ohio, just down the street from him. And he would go across the river, a black man, mind you, go across the river and find runaways and then bring them back. And people wanted to kill him because it was illegal. There was a law in Ohio at the time. It was illegal to aid and abet runaway slaves, which made no sense because you're now in a free state, right? And these are the kind of things that really baffled me and blew my mind when I'd see someone, driving down the road with their flag flying off their truck. And I'm thinking, well, wait a second. You live in Southern Ohio. What about the heritage that we have here? That's really important, more than your whatever, good old boy kind of mentality. It's just one of those things that frustrates me.
Well, that is part of what I call the blues narrative and the blues people story, right? And also just to tap into one of the earlier conversations, actually, maybe the very first conversation I had with Lady D face to face, is we were driving somewhere, and my thought was, well, are black people allowed in this location that we just drove by? And the reason why I bring that up, not to be divisive, never, it's always for context for the blues people. But part of the blues, and I do a lot of traveling, part of the blues is having to travel in these spaces or travel through these spaces that are not quite welcoming, right? So these are different things that could be explored in the blues story as we present it, right? But continue. Well, so which is why I asked these questions.
Well, and honestly, we've experienced that, haven't we, Chelsea?
Yes, we have.
There's a lot of but we would roll into a bar. I'd get at the gig somewhere, and we'd roll into a bar, and there'd be country music playing on the radio, and it'd be all these, it'd be predominantly white. And Nick, our drummer, because our band is the core of the band. There's only two white guys in a 3-piece or a 5-piece band. Okay, so there's more people of color in the band than there are white folk. And we roll in, and Nick would look at me, and he'd just say, "Well, all whitey then." Yeah. But when the music starts to get played, it's a bonding music.
It is. It's bonded. Not just people of all different ethnicities, but also, especially here, people who didn't know they loved blues or didn't know really what blues was, and they started hearing it, and they're like, "Well, this is great." Maybe they're a rock band or a country band. We have so much creativeness here. We have so many musicians and artists and actors and actresses and dancers and so many beautiful people here. And so that musical support is like, it wasn't like that, but now it is so much more prominent. And so we'll have people coming to the Blues Society who've never played blues, who don't know how to play. I mean, to their knowledge, never played blues. And they're like, how do you, which is something we do at a Blues Society. We do the first set, and then we let other people come up with us and play. So that's also, it's a moment of two people. We might have never played together ever. I might not know him from anyone. And we can come on and we play together and jam. And then we were instantly friends afterwards. And it's like that connection. And I feel like it's happened so many times, not just at our event, but like just making music as the great connector. You're one of the great connectors, you know.
And to attest to that, Chelsea, we've had this gig since 2018.
We have.
And that's a long-running gig.
Now people ask me every time.
We're doing it, and we still draw a crowd.
A big one.
The pub is still making money, and so it's obviously there's something there.
People travel from other places. They're from Huntington. I've had people travel from Indiana. We have people travel, from Tennessee to just come down and jam. Our next one is next Friday.
And we're the chosen band to play on the St. Patrick's Day parade, which is probably the whitest thing I could probably imagine. But we play it every.
We also play Pride every year.
We try to concede a little bit. Like this year, we did U2, an Irish band, their BB King, When Love Comes to Town, and we always got to hit on some Van Morrison because he's Irish and he's kind of bluesy.
Well, of course, absolutely. You got absolutely. So wait. 2 quick questions. What is the name of the band? Is it the society name? And walk us through this performance and then call people up, right? What is your thought process? What is the purpose of doing that? How does this unfold?
It's an open mic. So, the band's Mikey Mike and the Big Unit.
That's our band, yeah.
That's the name of the band.
It's the Portsmouth, Ohio Blues Society Open Jam. So what happens is, we'll come up, we'll introduce ourselves, we'll introduce, welcome to the Blues Society Open Jam. We'll kind of explain a little bit about how it goes, and then we'll sing. We'll do some songs the first set, and when we're done, we let people know, hey, you can come up and jam. And let's say someone came, for example, let's say if someone came up, he has a guitar. He came in, just him, just a guitar, and he's like, man, I wish, I don't have a bassist, I don't have a drummer, I really don't want to sing, I don't really know, I don't know. Then he can jump up with us and we can jam whatever he wants to do, whatever, we just kind of, it's cut that creative, we have that creative freedom. We had bass players come up who are in other bands. We've had guitarists come up in other bands, and we've, joined. Now it is a monthly thing of them coming to play with us. And I think the music community here, I think almost everyone has sung. I've sung with almost every band. Every band's almost played with us because it's just so interlocked now.
We've had a lot of them, and on a good night if we have a lot of musicians, we can throw a group together that never played together. But it's okay, 12-bar blues, Stormy Monday or whatever,
do some blues classic, we do a little nothing too crazy or complicated, but and then we let them be able to solo and do whatever, because blues is so giving in that way. Blues, you can express It's that cultural expression. It's that emotional expression. If you got something to say, you got something to sing, you got something to play, you can. There's room for it, you know, and that's the beauty of it. So that's what our basis for the Blues Society Open Jam. It's putting people together. You know, some people just are there to watch and just have a good time. And man, I've had people come up to me and afterwards and been like, "That was amazing. I did some research on these people you saying, blah blah," and then they'll tell me like all the stuff they know, and it's just it's a beautiful, humbling moment to, like, you know, inspire and help educate a community without even knowing, you know.
I have a question, and this is going to be an open-ended question to really the whole panel, and so what? Because like I know blues, like I've heard blues music, and I find it fascinating. I love it. Go to the performances, stuff like that. But what do you think is the resistance from people not like wanting to listen to blues, or having some sort of you know, like, because for some reason, you know, everyone's is explaining at some point, meeting people that don't like want to hear it, or don't. Is it the lack of education of where blues music came from, or where, you know, what it has done for the musical industry, or is it because
Social implications, my brother.
Because it's a black?
No, social implications, racial implications, economic implications. The blues is the butt-naked truth. When you think of acoustic blues, turn of the century blues, you think of Jim Crow, you think of slavery, you think of a lot of things that multiple ethnicities and specific political and economic classes don't want any parts of. You know, it's a stain for a lot of people. You know, the families that left the South, you know, for their life, they don't want no parts of that. You know, so it's what the music implies and what it reminds people of. I'll pass it on.
Well, one thing that I run into a lot, and it's not just the blues, it's like a lot of the music that I've played throughout the years, because one of the biggest criticisms I've always gotten was, why don't you play songs we know? You know, right? It's like, why don't you play something that's on the radio, or, you know, people are streaming today, you know? Well, because number one, I'm not in this to make $1 million. That train sailed a long time ago.
I don't care about that.
And number two, I want to have fun and enjoy myself and play the music that gives me pleasure and gives me joy, and so a lot of people just aren't familiar with the music. But once they listen to it, once they check it out, a lot of times you got a new recruit.
I think that I know my issue has mainly been, I mean, you know, we're part of the music community, part of the creative community, and sometimes if we're having a gig or a show, other creatives are also having gigs and shows, so they can't come support like they want to. So what happens is that, you know, we have all these creatives all over town performing. And then, you know, because us creatives, we support other creatives, but it's the general population that sometimes, you know, on one hand, they're like, there's nothing to do in Portsmouth. On the other hand, they don't come to any of the creative things or any of the, you know, things. And that could be I don't know if it's a lack of promotion or if it's just like they don't think they'll like it, so they're not gonna go. There's a lot of misconceptions with blues music. I had someone tell me they thought it was all sad. They thought all the time. They thought it was just like sad, slow music. I was like, no, not always.
Because there is different styles of blues.
Julie, I have been working on it. I've been trying to get a music festival and a film festival going.
I was literally, I was asked, why do I perform slave music?
Ooh, I've got this. I've got that slave comment before. I was like,
You know,
I want to jump in here because anytime I get asked a question like that, it's like I'm on a soapbox. So I feel like this is a soapbox. And I just want to say that, like I said earlier, I've organized a blues festival. It went on for like 6 years, and then we just had to give up on it because the city that I'm in, Beckley, West Virginia, at that time it just wasn't. I had also had hosted a radio show called Simply Jazz and Blues for 6 years also, and that sort of morphed into the festival. And I had lots of followers for the radio show, and but when the festival came around, there was literally no real support from the city itself. And a couple of businesses that I personally went to try to get support sponsorship was wondering, like, what is your target audience, which I knew really meant, does that mean that a lot of Black people are going to be coming into town? And so I had to assure them that in most blues festivals, the audience is usually 98% white. So, that's not really an issue. And I've seen that all over. Most blues festivals, the audience is mostly white. And that sort of goes back to what Bessie is talking about in the show, that, back in the early days, the Great Migration, a lot of Black people, once they moved north, they wanted nothing to do with the blues. They didn't want reminders of Jim Crow or slavery or anything like that. So a lot of Black people don't support blues to this day. It just doesn't, they don't feel like it affects them, or they think it's old, slow music too. Old sad music, and they don't want anything to do with it. I think there's a lot of artists though right now, young ones especially, that are coming along that are kind of changing that misconception about the blues for the Black community. And then I have a sort of a sore spot for a lot of festivals because they still have not been hiring a lot of the elders of the blues, the people who have been around for years and years and years. And I'm talking about the Black artists. It's hard to get onto a lot of festivals. If you put Joe Bonamassa or Anna Popovic or somebody like that up as a headliner, you're gonna get a huge response. But one thing I did, at the festival that we had here, I had to have a lot of the Black artists that I know have had problems getting on other festivals. I wanted them to have a spotlight. And so, yeah, that's a thing that it bugs me about blues and how it's accepted, and how, it's hard for the creators of the genre to get a space to, do their craft. And so I'll stop right there on that.
I can listen to you all day about it.
Yeah. And also, it depends on what kind of blues that you're playing, right? Because as someone who plays acoustic blues, I'm in the novelty section. I'm on the stage around a Black, because a Black person with an acoustic instrument, the last time anyone thought of that was Tracy Chapman. They don't know about the Alvin Youngblood Harts or the Corey Harrises who paved the way for folks like me, or the Taj Mahals,
yes,
and the Kev Moes. So now we got Jontavius Willis, we got Marquise Knox. We got I can go down the list of so many people, even in our age group, right? Like Piedmont Blues Acoustic Duo and Veronica Jackson. These are all acoustic. Samuel James. These are all acoustic singers. and players. But there's one thing we do have to keep in mind, and I use the analogy of the Black Bottoms movie with Chadwick and on Netflix, because it talks about something that is rarely discussed. John Wesley Work III, who was a composer, educator, folklorist, and musicologist, he spoke about this, and which is why he didn't like working with the Lomaxes, because he documented the progression of Black music, particularly gospel, but he also dealt with what he called the people of the blues. And there's one thing we have to remember, at least when we were growing up, I can't say in my house, that wasn't necessarily true, but generational disconnects also happen, right? So when some generations don't like what their parents or their grandparents like, and then there is an evolution of music, that happens, and that's what Chadwick's character was saying in Black Bottoms. So we don't want to hear that old jug band music, and we want to hear something else. So I'm a purist, so I have to come clean and say this. A lot of times, we're purists like myself, regardless of your ethnicity, we do a disservice to the music trying to keep it in one place. But it's a natural evolution, and if we kind of let it evolve, the blues that we all engage in will be more received by our younger generation, because we're not kind of ostracizing their how they take the music forward. Like my daughter, probably the best musician in the house at this moment, and she's a punk rocker. And I'm like, Sammy, you're supposed to be playing the blues. And she looked at me and said, well, Daddy, everything comes from the blues. I'm playing my version of the blues. And I was like, I taught her that. I can't say she's wrong. But you see, if you allow that space, so there's multiple things, but I don't ever want to forget that the racial and social implications is real. Even just the idea of acoustic music and blues together reminds people of a time that they don't want to talk about.
Well, when we were working on our second Blues, Brews, and Barbecue, the one that got interrupted by COVID, we were able to secure Alvin Youngblood Hart as a headliner, and there was in the committee, there was opposition to that because they didn't know who he was. Like, he won a Grammy, for God's sakes. Okay. And they were like, well, I mean, isn't there, can't we get a Joe Bonham? I said, no, too expensive. The only reason why we could even get Alvin Youngblood Hart, because he was playing in Dayton the night before, and he could have just, come through and gave us a great price. Then COVID hit, had to cancel. It never happened, which is just kills me that never happened.
Me too.
But yeah, they do. They want to, again, money talks, but Kingfish.
Oh. Oh.
I saw him in Clarksdale at Reds.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. And it was a day after Christmas. My wife and I decided to get out of town for Christmas because the kids are growing up, and we're like, what do we, let's just go somewhere. So we went to Nashville because she's the country lover in the house. Spent Christmas Eve in Nashville on Broadway, listened to some old-timey country band, which was wonderful. The only place that was open. And then I says, okay, we're going to Memphis or Clarksdale. And she's like, well, I don't want to deal with Memphis. And I was like, well, let's go to Clarksdale. And Kingfish was in town.
Mm-hmm.
The first night there, Lucius Spiller, who plays a lot in Clarksdale, was doing an open mic at Ground Zero, and I've never met this guy before. And I'm on my phone like this, and he's behind me with a wireless, and he's jamming away, and I wasn't looking at my wife, just staring at me, and I'm like, what? And I turn around, and he's standing there, and he looks at me and says, come on out and play. It's like, how do you know I play? And he says, we know our own. I went up there and sat in on them. We did like good little schoolgirl and Killing Floor. And then we heard the next morning that Kingfish was in town for Christmas and he was playing Reds. And I was like, hon, we got to stick around for another night. And there's Lucius. He's playing bass for Kingfish. And it was his touring band wasn't with him. He was playing with his high school buddies.
Right.
Fantastic. I probably, to sit there and just, it was incredible.
And Lucius is a great musician in his own right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I could talk about blues for the rest of the night, and as I know as everyone else can. But I as we get ready to wrap up, I would love to come back to the I believe it's at 14th Street Center and the podcast studio or booth. What's going on?
Yeah, so I'm sure that others that are from the 14th Street Community Center can also chime in the chat and the comments and help me out with this. But my understanding is that I've seen that they do have a podcast booth now at the center so that people can be able to use it. And they are currently working on they received a grant that will allow them to be able to outfit the studio, and I think they still might need some more funding. So just a shout out to support the 14th Street Community Center. If you go to their Facebook page, they have a QR code for you to be able to support the work that they're doing. They've been around for over 90 years serving the community. One of the things that I'd love to do when you come back, Lamont and Lady D, is to have you guys check out the studio and to think a little bit about how the center, to talk with them about how their plans for using it, but then also to be able to talk about how you guys, especially Lamont, how you use radio in your career and in your work, and how you're connecting it to the deeper histories that you're researching through your MA work and through your folklore work. How do you do stuff that's engaging to the public, but also has that deeper connection to the place where you live, to the people that you're around? Your questions about, what is the history of blues music and the traditions of blues music in Portsmouth? I don't know the answer to that. And I'd really love to learn more about that. I know that a lot of folks have done work on Black history. And certainly the center has, been at the forefront of a lot of community events and activities in the North End, especially, but also, much wider than that. But in terms of blues music or, blues narrative, where, what does that look like historically? I would love to know more about that.
That's a great question. And that's something that I've tried to dig out of people before, and no one really has any answers for me, because I was thinking maybe doing something with Drew Fight and putting together a research project on the musical history of Portsmouth, Ohio, that isn't really known, because apparently there are people that came out of here, but no one really knows exactly who they are. And there had to have been clubs where people were playing music and having that had to exist. But where's the history? Where's the stories?
I used to hear stories from my grandma when she was here. God rest her soul. But and like there used to be a radio station, used to be a gospel station, and my family used to sing on it. Wow. I looked up and I cannot find a trace of it. Mm-hmm. I have reached out and talked to people. I was already trying to plan to reach out to Dr. Fight, and since I have a stronger like relationship with the Southern Ohio Museum and Cultural Center now. I definitely feel like more things are coming, and we can definitely partner on that. We do the art walk together. The Curriculum Innovation Hub is part of the Arts, Culture, and Innovation District. So we do a lot with the Southern Ohio Museum and Cultural Center, and I'm as well as poetry events and stuff that we've had there. 'cause I'm on the I am a member of the Poets Against Racism and Hate, and the so.
I dig it. I dig it. So wait, before we move forward, real quick, Poets Against Racism and Hate. Share with us this organization. How do you guys engage the community? And then I guess we should go around to everyone as we close to get your organizations and how you engage the communities and what we're looking, forward-looking message, if you will. Starting with Chelsea and then Edwin.
I actually just became a member of not only the Poets Against Racism and Hate USA, but also the Ohio Poetry Association. I read poetry for the Ohio Underground Railroad Whistle Stop Poetry Tour that happened in Portsmouth, and we had people come. We had a beautiful. It was at the museum. We had a wonderful Maureen Cadogan did a phenomenal exhibit there with pieces like actual like shackles. We had quilts. It was the way it was set up was beautiful because on one side you saw the struggle, and then when you came back around, it was the hope. So there was that beautiful symbolism there, and we had several local poets read, and they had classes and all kinds of things. So it was a big, huge event. Afterwards, we all became members. Just being able to see that impact and seeing how special the organization was. And now that I am a member of both those organizations, I plan on definitely using that to partner with more. But the Southern Ohio Museum and Culture Center was the ones, and Jenna and Charlotte were the ones that really got that together.
Yeah. Edwin and Lady D.
What was the question again?
So the organizations that whatever you have not discussed organizationally that you're doing, engaging the community and like a forward, because you're doing a lot. I mean, that was one of the best conversations I've had when we were waiting for the ladies to join us, and that was a great drink recommendation.
But I don't know if we have enough time.
Yeah, I could have talked more too. I didn't know that was a full question. We both could talk.
So let's condense it. Let's condense it.
I don't know if I can.
So I'll start with Southern Ohio Folklife, of course, board member, along with advocate for Latin culture and history. As you can tell, wearing my Puerto Rican shirt. What else? Trillium Project, a board member, also an artist. It is an organization kind of geared to help artists, local artists, be seen by the world that we know here in Portsmouth. And so trying to be, we were trying to be like a vessel to get local artists mixed with local businesses and city and try to kind of tackle that public art scene. What else? I'm on the Shawnee State University Athletic Board. I'm also a part of. I just had a podcast the other day with Bloom Where You're Planted with Laura Womack. I mean, I won Community Spirit Award from the Chamber of Commerce. Man, I'm all over the place. I do a lot of volunteer work.
A lot of hats.
Right.
I'm a board member of Watch Me Grow Ohio, which is a great organization that kind of ties in agriculture with the youth and teaching them ways to kind of sustain food-wise. We built a community garden, and it's fantastic to be able to show kids how to grow produce harvest it, and then use for consumption,
That's
free,
part of the blues.
free of charge.
Mhm.
It looks like probably I'll be helping in some way, kind of give blues history to some of these schools out here. Apparently, maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
I'm down for that as well.
I volunteer for the Challenger League, which is an organization that helps kids with special abilities, experience sports in many different ways. I mean, the list goes on and on, man. I'm a former city councilman.
Mhm.
We can just keep going on and on. But honestly, like I have a lot of connections. I have a lot of networking, and I'm very resourceful in being able to help kind of guide anyone, and I'm very interested in helping get some blues history into schools, because I really think that from my question, it seems like the answer to some of this is education.
All of it, absolutely.
So I think that the more we can educate people on what blues music was and what it is now, and what it meant and what it still means, and what it can mean, I think that that's very, very important. And we need to, for me, everything starts with the youth. So if we can educate them on what, you're building that platform to help our youth kind of figure out where they lie within that blues,
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And I truly enjoyed Cassie's response to that young lady as soon as we started the workshop. She said, already this is what we're doing? Lady D.
Well, of course, I do the show, The Lady and the Empress, with my band, and I actually have a guitar player who travels with me a lot doing Bessie's Blues, which is the smaller, condensed version. I feel like it's really important to push this show this year because our Black history is literally being erased in a lot of areas. And I feel like this show is just a small way of making sure that the history stays out there and in front of people in an entertaining way. And of course, I sing with a lot of different people. My band Mission, we do a lot of everything: blues, R&B, soul, pop. We do everything but country. But the way things are looking now, maybe I need to add in some country because I know that country definitely has Black origins. I just never liked the sound of country music. I'm a songwriter, a playwright. What else? I'm a painter now. I'm an artist. Since COVID, we were shut in, and so I thought I'd take up something new. I needed another way to express myself, and painting seemed to be it. And so I'm really obsessed with painting now. And I sort of pushed my way onto the Bill Withers Memorial Statue Fund Committee here in Beckley a couple of months ago because I love Bill Withers, and I just didn't feel like things were moving fast enough or in the right way. So I got myself onto the committee, and so now I'm really involved in things. The festival that's also here that's just been sort of a gathering so far. So hopefully in the next couple of years, I can help that to be built into something a little larger and more worthy of Bill Withers. And Lamont, I really would like to talk to you about doing something along the lines of a podcast or just some type of an interview to talk about Bill Withers, because that he was blues also. Really, you
Yes,
may
ma'am.
not, a lot of people may not think of it that way, but he was definitely country blues.
Yes, ma'am.
But yeah, I got a lot of things going on, and Yeah, and I have a series of videos. I'm working on the last one right now called Those Who Came Before, and it's about the history of Black musicians in West Virginia. So I talk to a lot of people here about who influenced them in West Virginia and also Black culture here in West Virginia. So I'm on the last video right now, and then hopefully I can get some more money to start on a second series of those videos. So that's what I got going on.
One, absolutely yes, whenever you need me, okay?
Thank you.
Brother Eli?
Well, the Blues Society, which we've talked about quite a bit. Looking forward, I would like to continue on the things that we originally intended with it, more educational things. Everyone's talking about podcasts. Hey, Chels, maybe we should do a podcast. I mean, that would be fun. That would be cool. Get some people in on that.
Podcast. And we have a recording area and stuff now, audio video thing at the hub as well as the 14th Street Community Center. So yeah.
And the band is I think we're kind of known for our charity because we play a lot of free stuff. It'd be nice to not saying we don't want to play free stuff, because the things that we do play for free are usually for a cause. We're always playing Pride events. We're playing the 14th Street Community Center.
We're doing one for the North End coming up to them to build a park. So we're going to be playing there, as well as Soul Food Festival. We do that every year as well. It's one of my favorites. And we do Pride every year, and so.
But I'll tell you, watching Lady D's performance, the way it was melded, the acting and the music, I was just sitting there thinking to myself the whole time, we could do that. Chelsea is an actress. She's got the vocal chops. We could do something like that. We could do something different than just doing a bar gig. Not that there's anything wrong with playing the, bar gigs. I mean, that's blues. Juke
but part of some of the dresses I wear trying to be up in the bar now. I got some.
But we got more, and that's a real, Lady D, your performance was really such an inspiration to me to think, okay, I could think outside the box, which maybe it's not so much outside the box. Musical theater's been around forever. But, we have the tools to do that. And it's been in the back of my mind, and it's something that hopefully may manifest itself in some form or the other.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm glad you were inspired.
Absolutely.
Cassie?
Well, I am. I'm just really looking forward to all this energy being able to make its way into Lady D and Lamont coming back to Portsmouth, and us all teaming up together to make that happen, and to find out what form or forms it will take.
I dig it. So what I usually like to say, and I guess this is part of being an ethnographic interviewer, is there something that you thought or hoped would be asked that was not?
No, not to my knowledge. I think it was very well. Sorry.
Go ahead, Lady D.
Well, I was hoping there would be a little more talk about blues origins and things like that, but that could be a whole nother 5-hour show. I know. So you just have to come back and do that again.
I would love
I would love to get involved. If you to have a future podcast and you want to talk about the music, the origins, and history, please let me know.
Absolutely.
I'm interested.
To participate.
I would say I agree, but I thought as much as I wanted to take it there, I think it was good to discuss the follow-up of what we actually did and then we can go into because what I really wanted to ask was because Chelsea was saying, well, the blues is this, and Eli said, well, the blues is, so we all were kind of giving our experience with it. So I wanted to ask, what was it to y'all? But I knew if I did that, nothing that we were discussing would have got discussed.
We still be here. We talk a year from now.
Right. So I had to dial that back. So what it sounds like, folk, we'll be back doing this again, where we can really call it tracing the blues. And we could just trace it for ourselves and what it actually means, because it does mean it's multivocal, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So now, with that being said, good people, thank y'all for hanging out with us. And with Julie, thank you. You were a gem when I met you, and you're a gem today. And everyone else who watched, thank the 5 of you. And we will be doing this again. Remember, good folk, always be a representative of your people's narrative. Make sure you're putting it in the proper context, because there's always somebody willing to tell your story. You need to be there to tell your own story for your own people. And you're going to learn them blues anytime you come to Jack Dappa Blues, because that's what we'll do here. Okay. All right, good folk.
Thank you, Lamont.